Death. Death is on its way to you. You would have reason to fear it if it could ever be present with you. Necessarily, though, it either does not arrive or is over and gone. It is hard, you say, to get one's mind to despise life. But don't you see, people do sometimes despise it for trivial reasons. One person hangs himself outside his girlfriend's door. Another hurls himself over a rooftop so as not to have to listen any longer to his master's complaints. A runaway slave stabs himself in the belly to avoid being recaptured. Don't you agree that courage will achieve what overwhelming terror manages to do? One cannot attain a life free of anxiety if one is too concerned about prolonging it. Rehearse this every day so that you will be able to let go of life with equanimity. Many people grasp and hold on to life, like those caught by a flash flood who grasp at weeds and brambles. Most are tossed about between the fear of death and the torments of life. They do not want to live, but do not know how to die. Cast off your solicitude for life, and in doing so, make life enjoyable for yourself. No good thing benefits us while we have it, unless we are mentally prepared for the loss of it. And of all losses, this is the easiest to bear, since once life is gone, you cannot miss it. Exhort yourself, toughen yourself against such events as befall even the most powerful. No one has ever reached a point where the power fortune granted was greater than the risk. The sea is calm now, but do not trust it. The storm comes in an instant. Pleasure boats that were out all morning are sunk before the day is over. And suppose you should fall into the hands of the enemy, and the victor should order you to be put to death. Death is where you are headed anyway. Why do you deceive yourself? Do you realize now, for the first time, what has in fact been happening to you all along? So it is, since the moment of birth, you have been moving toward your execution. These thoughts, and others like them, are what we must ponder if we want to be at peace as we await the final hour. For fear of that one makes all our other hours uneasy. No matter how timid you are, you surely would not choose to dangle forever over the cliff. It would be better to fall at once. We do not meet death all at once. We move toward it bit by bit. We die every day, for every day some part of life is taken from us. Even when we are still growing, our life is shrinking. We lost our infancy, then childhood, then youth. All our time was lost in the moment of passage, right up to yesterday, and even today is divided with death as it goes by. As the water clock does not empty out its last drop only, but also whatever dripped through it before, so our last hour of existence is not the only time we die, but just the only time we finish dying. We need to be admonished and strengthened both against excessive love of life and against excessive hatred of it. Even when reason advises one to make an end of oneself, the act should not be undertaken heedlessly or in haste. A man of courage and wisdom should not flee life, but merely depart from it. One must avoid a craving for death. The noble and adventurous scorn life, whereas the timid and shiftless are weighed down by it. Others find that they have become satiated with seeing and doing the same things, and do not hate life as much as they are disgusted by it. How much more of the same things? How much more of the same things? How long will I wake and sleep and eat and become hungry, grow old and take sick? There are many who feel not that life is hard, but that it is pointless. Lectures, learned seminars, and sayings culled from the teachings of philosophers and educated conversation do not reveal the mind's real strength, for speech is bold, even where the speaker is among the most timorous. What you have achieved will be revealed only when you breathe your last. There's no way to know the point where death lies waiting for you, so you must wait for death at every point. It is a fine thing to learn death thoroughly. Perhaps you think it is a waste of time to learn something you will need to use only once. But that is the very reason we ought to rehearse. If we cannot test whether we know it, we should be learning it always. Rehearse for death. He who says this is telling us to rehearse our freedom. One who has learned death has unlearned slavery. For death is above all powers, and certainly beyond all. What does death care for prison, for shackle, and for cell? Its gate is ever at liberty. There is but one chain that binds us, the love of life. That, admittedly, we may not discard, yet we must lessen it, lest anything detain us when commanded by our situation, or hinder us from readiness to do at once what must be done someday. He who was unwilling to die never wanted to live, for life is given to us with death as a precondition. Death is where we are headed, and for that reason one would be mad to fear it. It is uncertainty that frightens us. When things are certain, we simply await them. Death is a requirement that is imposed equitably and unavoidably. Who can complain about being under the same restrictions as everyone else? The first element in equity is equality. If we are willing to draw some distinctions among the causes of our fear, we will find that some are real, others only apparent. It is not death we fear, but the thought of death. For death itself is always the same distance away from us. Remind yourself often how fine a thing it is to reach the summit of life before you die, and then to be in peace as you wait out the remainder of your time, relying only on yourself. For once one possesses happiness, duration does not make it any happier. May you come to know those true goods that belong to you in the moment you understand them, and so feel no need of additional years. In order to rise above necessities, to gain one's discharge, to be free, one must live a life that is already complete. You are wrong if you think it is only aboard ship that life is but an inch away from death. The interval is the same wherever you go. There death is in full view, but everywhere it is just as close to us. The day I find fortune's power is too much for me is the day that power is annulled. Why should I put up with fortune when death is ready to hand? It's the next thing to cowardness when one merely waits in idleness for death to come. For it matters a great deal whether one is prolonging life or prolonging death. Perhaps what is called for is even to act a little before you must, lest when the time comes you should be unable. The risk of living in misery is worse than that of dying swiftly. I will not abandon old age as long as it allows me to keep my whole self, that is, the whole of my better part. But if it begins to attack my mind and lop off parts of it, If it keeps me alive without allowing me a life, then I will fling myself from the decayed and collapsing edifice. But if I know I will have to endure the pain without intermission, I will depart. Not because of the pain itself, but because it will hinder me from everything that makes life worth living. He who dies merely because of pain is weak and lazy. He who lives merely for pain is a fool. I strive to make a day count for a whole lifetime. It's not that I cling to it as if it were my last, not by any means, and yet I do look at it as if it could actually be my last. Dying well is dying willingly. Make an effort never to do anything against your will. What makes people miserable is not acting under orders, but acting against their will. So let us arrange our minds in such a way that whatever circumstance require is what we want, and especially that we think about our own end without sadness. We should prepare for death even before we prepare for life. To have enough of life, neither days nor years can give us that, but only the mind. My life has been quite long enough. Satisfied, I await my death. Now I keep in mind not only that everyone and everything must die, but that they die according to no determinate law. If it can happen at all, it can happen today. If you would hear my advice, then practice and train yourself in this: how to welcome death, or even summit if circumstances so indicate. It matters not whether death comes to us or we to death. And you may ponder this as well. No one dies on any day but his own dying day. You're not losing any of your allotted time, for what you leave behind is not your own. We could bear our own end, and that of our loved one, with greater courage if we perceive that life and death, like everything else, come and go by turns. A journey is unfinished if you stop in the middle, or anywhere short of your destination. But life is never cut short as long as one lives honorably. It is complete no matter where you end it, as long as you end it in a good way. But it often happens that a person has to make a brave end for reasons that are not particularly weighty. For the reasons that keep us here are not weighty either. Think how long you have been doing the same thing over and over. Food, sleep, sex, round and round in a circle. It's not only the sensible person, the brave person, and the miserable person who can conceive a wish to die. Sheer disgust may wish for it as well. You would be braver, no doubt, if many thousands would die along with you. But in fact, there are many thousands, people and animals alike, who do, yielding up their spirits in one way or another in this very moment when you hesitate to die. Did you think you would never reach the goal to which you have been headed all along? There is no journey without an ending. Life itself is slavery when one lacks the courage to die. Do you, in fact, have anything worth waiting for? You linger, you tarry over your pleasures, but you have exhausted even those. Not one of them is new to you. Not one is anything but loathsome to you from sheer surfeit. Don't you know that dying is also one of life's responsibilities? You're not abandoning any responsibilities, for there is no set number you have to fulfill. Life is like a play. What matters is not how long the show goes on, but how well it is acted. It makes no difference where you stop. Stop wherever you please. Just make the ending a good one. Death is honorable only through that which is actually honorable, namely, virtue and the mind that cares nothing for externals. We ought to care much less about death than we do. We have believed many scurrilous tales about it, and many have tried to outdo each other in inventing more. A person will never mount up toward virtue if he believes death is an evil, but if he thinks it is indifferent, he will. Nature does not allow anyone to advance bravely toward what he believes to be bad. He will proceed slowly and reluctantly. Our task is not to remove the fear of death from 300 soldiers, but to remove it from all who are mortal. How will you overcome the beliefs of a lifetime instilled in earliest infancy? We are in no one's power when death is in our power. Is a person really worse off just because it is granted to him to die sooner? Who will concede that? His journey was over before fatigue set in. There is an absolute termination to human life at the point fixed by our fate's implacable necessity. But not one of us knows how close he is getting to that termination. Let us then compose our minds as if we have reached the end. Let us not put anything off. Let us settle our accounts with life each and every day. Nothing will do as much to help you toward self-control in all things as the reflection that life is short, and the little we have of it is uncertain. In every act, keep your eyes on death. Just as it has been settled that you will die at some time, whether you want to or not, so it is in your power to die whenever you wish. The one is necessary for you. The other is an option.